In today's video, I'm going to be ranking the defenders in Rainbow Six Siege right now in Neon Dawn, all the way from the top tier being S and down to the bottom tier being D. As today we are going to be creating the ultimate defender tier list. Remember, this is my personal opinion and there is no right or wrong answer. If I really wanted to, I could put Blackbeard in the S tier. Yeah, I could do that. And anyone else's opinion is valid too, so be sure to comment down below any changes you would make to my tier list. We're going to be starting off with the D tier. For the D tier, I have gone ahead and placed Warden and Kavira in there. Now originally there was actually an F tier, but I removed the F tier because I had no operators or defenders to place in there. And that is because Warden isn't a bad operator. Warden is a good operator, but he's only good in very specific situations. You'll only get good use out of Warden in a very specific situational circumstance. But remember, on my attacker tier list I did have a F tier. However, for the defenders, that's been removed because Warden and Kavira shouldn't be placed there. Kavira has been placed in the D tier because simply Kavira is again an operator or defender that is very situational. Kavira is a really lackluster operator. She might be useful in the lower ranks, but in the higher ranks, it is very, very rare that you will find yourself picking up an interrogation, and Kavira often doesn't add too much to the team. If we continue to apply it to the higher ranks with Kavira, that interrogation or that one-off play that is really, really useful with Kavira might only come once in a blue moon. And definitely for a few of these operators, they will depend on different factors and circumstances such as the skill level that they're being played at, the person that's using them, so bear this in mind. You might be amazing with Kavira and Warden, however for the majority, they're only going to be really, really useful in specific situations, and for the most part, they won't be too useful at all. Next up, we do have the C tier, where we've gone ahead and placed Frost, Castle, Cade, and Oryx. Now, the two defenders I want to touch on first are going to be Cade and Castle. A few of you might place them higher, and that is perfectly understandable. However, I've placed them here based off my own opinion, because I believe they aren't really too useful for the majority of plays. Cade is a very useful operator, he denies a hard breach, but when you compare it to Bandit, for example, Bandit does that job 10 times better. Don't get me wrong, you can still Cade trick, and he does have a good loadout, which is why he can very easily be moved up to that B tier potentially. However, I've gone ahead and placed him in the C tier because of the other operators that are currently in that B tier. Castle again is an operator that could be moved up to the A tier. With Castle, it all depends on who's going to be playing him. For the most part, I see players using him wrong more often than right, which is why I've placed him in that C tier. If you know how to use Castle correctly and to his advantages, then he can easily be moved up to that B to A tier. But then we also have to judge these operators on where they're being placed, on how easy they are to use. Again, Oryx is an operator that could potentially be moved up to that B tier now that he does have that T5 SMG. Overall, Oryx is a very solid operator, he has a useful ability too, and his loadout ain't too bad at all. Frost is an underrated operator and deserves more credit than what people give her. However, her ability, that conversion rate of actually using it, getting kills from it, isn't too great when you are going to be playing against players with higher skill levels who know what they're doing. And most of the time, her ability won't get used at all. Touching on Cade again, I do understand, and probably most of you would probably bump him up a few tiers. But for me, Cade isn't that useful of an operator, just because there are operators who can do it better, and his loadout taking the nerf from that shotgun being reduced in damage, which did happen a while back now, is a big hit. It is a controversial one for sure, but in my opinion, I don't find him too useful. Next up, we do have the B tier, and we've gone ahead and placed Doc, Alibi, Clash, Pulse, Ella, Legion, Capcan, and Goyo in there. Doc is definitely an operator that deserves to belong there now. A few of you would expect this, however some might not. And the reason is I don't believe Doc is no longer an A tier or an S tier operator, and this is because he has lost a lot. He lost his ACOG, which was a great benefit for him. However, now without that ACOG and his ability, it's very easy to lose and often can be very costly to your team. When you pick Doc, you die early, you end up wasting a lot of utility. Compared to an operator like Rook, who will have that 2x in fact, and also he has an ability which can be placed down at the start, is very useful for his team, has a lot of utility with the impact grenades too. Rook definitely deserves to be in that A tier, which we'll be showing you very, very soon. If you are a Doc main and you like to spawn peek early on and you often survive and end up using your stims, fair play to you. If you would like to tell me why you think that Doc should be a little bit higher, or if you've got any other opinions on any of the operators that I've placed, be sure to pop by when I'm live on Twitch, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. There will be a link down below in the description. Now, Goyo is an operator that can either be moved down all the way to D tier or all the way up to potentially A tier. And this is because Goyo is very useful in many skill levels. In Pro League, Goyo is a fantastic operator. Goyo is used a lot in Pro League especially. However, in Ranked, Goyo doesn't really suit the meta too much. Another operator that I've placed there is Alibi. Alibi is quite an underrated operator. I do believe Alibi should be in the B tier, potentially C for some of you. However, I've placed Alibi in that B tier. Next up is Clash, and Clash being in the B tier, again, is another one like Goyo. Clash can either be moved up all the way to that S tier in my opinion, or can be moved down to the D tier. That is a really, really different view. And this is because Clash is an extremely strong operator if you know what you're doing and you are communicating and coordinating with your team. For a lot of these defender placements, especially compared to the attackers, the defenders are more based upon the skill level and the person who's going to be using them. Whereas when I did the attacker tier list, I didn't run into this problem too much. The only thing with the attacker tier list is an operator like Blackbeard. If you use him and you're really good with Blackbeard, you're still awful. If you use him and you're really bad with Blackbeard, you've still picked Blackbeard. Next up, we have the A tier, where I've gone ahead and placed Mirror, Rook, Visual, Mozzie, Jager, Wamai, and Aruni. Aruni was definitely a difficult operator for me to place right now, as Aruni hasn't really been tested and tried too much. It's very early days with Aruni. Aruni is definitely a strong operator, however also isn't absolutely broke. Aruni's melee ability really does push her up into this A tier, I do believe. She has a lot of potential to her, and overall is quite a strong operator. Do I think she belongs in that S tier? No. If you think otherwise, be sure to drop a comment down below and let me know why. Mirror is definitely a strong operator and always has been really. However, I don't believe Mirror's in that S tier anymore. I believe she's just faded away from the top tier of the meta, and that's why I placed her in that A tier. An operator like Vigil could very easily go into that S tier. However, I've put him on that A tier because overall he doesn't really contribute too much to the team, which can be a detriment to it if your Vigil player isn't always the greatest. Don't get me wrong, Vigil's a very strong operator and could be in that S tier. Wamai and Jager, these two have definitely taken some nerfs. However, I do believe they are on equal playing fields now, because Wamai, it does bring a lot of utility to the team, and Jager has definitely taken a lot of hit. Next up is going to be the S tier, and very shortly I will be showing you my full tier list, so be sure to stick around. For the S tier, I've placed Maestro, Valkyrie, Bandit, Echo, Smoke, Melusi, Mute, and Tachanka. Mute is an extremely strong operator and always has been. He can counter so many different operators and overall is really quite strong. Tachanka with his rework is a very strong operator. With his 10 fire grenade launchers, I do believe that is a lot of a utility to waste time, block off areas, deny the entry, and his weapon is fantastic. I do believe he should be in that S tier. Valkyrie is a very strong operator, always has been, and really is at a peak right now. The same with Maestro. After losing that ACOG, he's still a very strong operator indeed. With Bandit, Bandit has always been a very strong operator, and a very strong hard breach denial. Smoke is personally one of my favourite operators, and I do believe he belongs in that S tier because he's always really held his own with his shotgun, with his SMG-11. Also, with the delay time that he does have with his canisters, he really is up there. And that right there is my full tier list, the ultimate tier list for the defenders in Rainbow Six Siege for Neon Dawn. If you would like to take a look at my previous tier list and compare the changes that I've made to it since then, there will be an end screen card with the video there. If you enjoyed this video or it did help you out finding your new main for Rainbow Six Siege, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe for more videos just like this one. If you want to ask me any questions that you do have about Siege, or just me in general, be sure to pop in the Discord where we have a wonderful community in there and you can ask me any questions that you do have, even if it is why I placed Blackbeard in that F tier. A massive thank you to all the patrons who continue to support me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.